Hi, I'm Mike, one half of Ketolicious Kitchens. Today's episode starts with a simple question. What goes great with a brick hole in the ground?
And so the answer is everything. There's pork, pork butt, pork shoulder, pork ribs. There's beef, beef brisket, beef ribs, lengua, cachete, lamb, leg of lamb. All of those are good. There's also barbacoa, which covers all of those meats in a variety of different styles and flavors. And that's what we're going to look at today is a barbacoa-influenced beef brisket that we're going to turn into the most delicious tacos you will ever eat. I don't know whether you're familiar with Mexican barbacoa, but in the purest tradition, it's a hole in the ground with a bed of coals, a layer of maguey leaves. The meat is set on top of that, wrapped, it's steamed. You've got a lid on top that's covered with soil, and that meat is steamed in there, slow cooked for about 6 hours, all day long, and it comes out just dripping good. And so we're going to do a barbacoa-influenced brisket. So let's stop gabbing and let's start brisketing.
Okay, let's start with the rub. I use 4 different chili powders with this, and it's not to make it super hot, it's to give it depth. Each one of these powders just has a little bit different flavor, and one thing I would say is at the bottom of the list here is ground cinnamon. You're probably thinking, what? Cinnamon? Trust me. Keep the cinnamon in this rub and try it out. You're gonna find out it is awesome. Ingredient 1, rub. Ingredient 2, brisket. This is an 18-pound brisket. It's a lot of meat. But hey, we like to eat a lot of tacos. So I'm not even going to pretend to be a trimming expert. There are a lot of videos out there that will show you how to trim brisket. All I can say is with this, we're making tacos out of it, so I'm not really crazy about a lot of fatty meat in my taco. I don't like it dry, but I don't like it super fatty either, so I'm taking off more fat than I probably would if this was just a traditional sliced brisket. Okay, this brisket's trimmed just about the way we like it. Fair amount of fat on each side, but not so much that it's just oozing fat whenever we put it in a taco. Okay, and I'm excellent at making messes, so I put the brisket in a cookie sheet and just start rubbing it down. So one comment about this rub, it tastes great on everything. Put it on lamb, put it on a pork shoulder, it is really a great rub. So the quantities that I provided in that rub recipe a little bit ago is exactly what I used for this 18-pound brisket. And it was just enough to cover the whole brisket. I probably would have liked to have had a little bit more rub at the end of the day, but it got us there. Okay, so we've trimmed the briskets. I didn't get any stitches this time. And we put the rub on the meat. We've got our mount fat more over here for the dogs later, a little bit of it for the dogs later. And so the next thing to do is to create the pits, the bed of coals basically. We're gonna let the meat sit for 2 hours. It's gonna take about that much time to build up a deep enough bed of coals to be able to cook the meat. So let's go get the pit going. Vámonos. So if you didn't know what pit I was talking about, now you see it. If you didn't see the video earlier about how to make one of these in-ground barbacoa pits, then take a look at our other video. So I've got my wood pile here, I've got the quick burning light wood here, and then at the other end, heavy wood that'll make a good coal. So we're gonna get it started with the quick burning stuff and then throw the heavy stuff in after we get it raging here. Okay, so I'm not going to explain how to light a fire, but basically I've got kindling in the bottom, I'm going to get that going, and then I'm going to start stacking wood in there. The goal is to have a bed of coals about 8 to 10 inches deep, so there's a lot of wood that's going to need to burn, so we've got about 2 hours of this to do. Also, I'm not being too picky about the wood. I don't like a lot of smoky wood, but We're not smoking the meat, we've got it wrapped, so we're just trying to create a bed of coals here, so hardwood is good. Okay, so now we have this nice little fire going far away from the house and anything else that could burn down, and let's get it going. So at this point, all we're going to keep doing is just feeding the pit with log after log after log and just build up that coal bed. So it's just a couple hours of just feeding the pits with fuel. Okay, so while we're making coals, I'm going to show you an optional trick that you can try. So if you take that brisket and just wrap it now and put it in the pit, it's going to taste great, but frankly, I like a little bit of char on the meat. And so the way that I do that is I put it on the grill and just blacken it a little bit just to get some of that char flavor, and then we'll put it down in the pit. You don't have to do this, it's just something I prefer to do. So now wrap the meats in 2 layers of foil. That'll help prevent against any juice leaks later. Okay, so when you put the meats in the pit, you want to make sure it's on a bed of coals, not a bed of flames. That would be problems. So just wait for that flame to burn out, and then it's time to put the meats in. If I had longer arms or maybe thicker skin, this would have looked a lot more graceful. Okay, you need to be able to monitor the temperature of the meat to know when it's time to pull it out. So I have some meat probes. I'm going to stick one into the thickest part of the meat, down into the middle, and then I've got another probe that I use to just kind of track how the ambient temperature is inside the pit after we put the lid on. Okay, we're going to center the meats inside the pit, put the lid on, and use my favorite blanket, the Barbacoa blanket. So a traditional Mexican barbacoa pit has maguey leaves, and that's what you'll set the meat on top of the coals, and then you'll seal the lid with maguey leaves and dirt. We're in Phoenix, and I just can't find that anywhere, so I use a blanket. I lay the blanket on top and then put the dirt on top of that, and that's what seals and traps the heat in there and lets the meat cook. So seriously, I've used burlap to cover the lid, and it breaks down after you use it maybe 1 or 2 times. It just dissolves. So I like this blanket. I think it's made of polyester, and it's indestructible. It's ugly, but it's indestructible, and I love it. So now we're gonna wait about 5 hours, and then pull it out. Okay, so when you put the lid on it and you seal it and you see the temperature and it's 507 degrees, you think you're going to have ashes for dinner, but that's not the way it works. It's going to cool down fairly quickly, but then it's going to just kind of like hover at about 250 degrees after about an hour and a half or so, and I had never seen it crash yet, so maybe I'm just lucky. So my meat thermometer has an app, and so I check in on the temperature every hour or so, and what I'm waiting for is for the meats to get up to about 205 degrees and let it stay there for about an hour. Then it's time to pull it out. So after the meat has been at 205 degrees for about an hour, it's time to uncover the meat. Let's do this. So this is where the utility of the blanket becomes a lot more apparent. In addition to helping provide a good seal for the pit, you can take a little bit of dirt off and then just kind of wrap it all up with the blanket and lift it off rather than trying to chip away at the dirt and sweep it out of the way and stuff. So it's just super handy. Okay, let's see what's in here. So there it is. Okay, let's see. Wow, you're
like a professional, maybe. Almost like one. Wow, look at you. Yum.
Okay, so after you pull that meat, let it rest for 1 hour. I know you're going to be tempted to pick at it, but just let it rest.
All right.
All right.
It's like Christmas. Let's see what we got.
And our plates are here.
Let's see what we got. There it is. Behold the brisket. Let's see what we got.
Oh my goodness.
Oops. That's good. It's gonna make some great tacos.
Don't put your fork
Back in it?
in.
Why
Oh my
not?
god.
Why not? It's yummy. Okay. So there you have it. The barbacoa brisket. So in this saga, we've seen how to make a pit, how to make barbacoa brisket, and next stop is making tacos. Enjoy! Right. Here we go. Taco time. Oh, been waiting all day for this. Let's see, let's get a little bit of cabbage, repollo, a bit of crema.
Crema de loco. La crema de loco.
And maybe a little pico, onion, cilantro, tomate,
And limon.
salsita. Let's do that. Limon. Oh, mama. Okay. Push. That was good. I've been waiting all day for this. This turkey, so good. The meat, it's got the fat, it's got the spicy chiles. It is good.
Okay, hopefully you liked this video as much as we love tacos.
Si le gustó este video, por favor, haga like y suscríbase. Saludos.
Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.
Bye.
Adios.
Adiós.